if I was a father of a son going into that situation, I would want you to send as many people as we need, as much equipment, so we can get in there and get the fuck out. 20 years, 25 years, whatever. I get that there's money to be made, but at the same time, like, I want my kid there as short a period of time as possible.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know. I don't want you to put yourself in a pickle answering these questions, but I'm curious what's your opinion on that stuff.
No, that's actually an excellent point, and I do get that. I've gotten that a few times, actually. Obviously, I have a son, and he's a preteen now, and I know. I guess it comes down to control what you can't control. That's where I focus on being, and as far as my role in the military, because I'll tell you straight up, there's a lot of guys who I came in with, good leaders, outstanding warriors, did incredible things. And they immediately, even during like the last administration are like, I'm retiring. I'm done with this, man. They're done. And they're like, hey, I don't need this stress. I don't need this. I'm out. I'm out. And hey, you know what? Power to them. Go do that. But at the same time, though, I saw it from a different perspective. I saw it where, okay, if the good leaders are leaving, then what are you left with?
You're listening to the Gabe Molina podcast.
I usually, man, you probably shouldn't take as many of these as I do, the Halls minis. But, man, they're the only thing that keeps me from coughing now. Allergies like crazy. And then with all the rain.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I think it's the mold, right?
I just did yard work today. And every time, what are they call the sage bushes? The Texas sage bushes, the ones with the yellow flowers.
Is that the one that smells
the
real strong?
purple flowers that only come out when the rain.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, every single time. I don't have bad allergies, but every time I cut those down, I have allergies. I don't know what it is.
I think God's getting me back because when I was younger, my mom's allergic to everything under the sun. And when I was younger, I used to make fun of her. And she'd go in these coughing fits where she couldn't stop. Sneezing fits, and I would always just rag on her and make fun of her and say, just being a jerk. Now, I'm the same way.
Hey,
Mexicans aren't supposed to have allergies.
Oh no, we have tons of allergies and diabetes.
Shout out to our moms.
Children that we don't raise.
All right, are we ready to do this?
We're already recording. What are you talking about? We'll leave that all there.
All right, hey, welcome everybody to the Gabe Molina podcast.
Keep telling him while I cough.
I'm going to go ahead and knock out this intro for him.
Let's do it.
Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Gabe Molina podcast. If you're brand new to the channel, hey, we appreciate you guys, and there's power and presence, so thanks for being present. Hey, if you want to know more, scroll down, check out the videos, man. Gabe Molina, this is one of those dudes that helps find common sense in an uncommon world. All right, by talking to some of the coolest people who have a common sense perspective. So make sure to hit that subscribe button because there's going to be more to come.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. That's all we need, man.
That's all we need. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next video.
So I got a problem with you, man.
Uh-oh. Send it. Get in line, though.
You know what?
I will say get in line.
I feel like I took you for granted.
No.
Because we could have hung out and done things more.
Now you sound like my dad.
I feel like I'm losing you to the East Coast, man. So what's going on there? Why are you listening to what the military tells you to do?
I know, right? I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself that every morning.
So you're getting stationed back over there in Florida?
So the time has come where, so it's a bittersweet, I'll say. In the military, obviously, every duty station has a...
Don't say duty.
Okay. Every assignment, all right, has an end date. And because there's career progression. Now, you could do what you can. I know a lot of soldiers that literally... I've seen soldiers stay at one place for like 6 years. I've seen soldiers stay at 8 years. But when it comes to career progression, they don't they're not really competing against your peers. And in the military, you're competing against your peers if you want to make it a career. And that the Army will always support that. And now they put me in the position where I made the promotion list, and now they see me better fit over here for this mission set or in this place, So they basically send me an email. Hey, it's time for you to go. You made the list. It's time for you to go. You've been here for a good amount of time. We see you better fit in these following places. So pick which one's is your best one.
So they give you an option?
They do that to kind of, I would say, and if any of you guys know what I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but they give you that as kind of like a little word of encouragement. It's kind of like whenever you if you work for a company and they give you that, hey, how are you at work? From a scale of 1 to 10, do you extremely like your job? Do you
Oh, I just filled one of those out like 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. But do you probably tell yourself, like, do they really even care, like, what I put here? Is somebody really doing this, or do they have to do it? Well, in that sense, yeah, I feel like it's just one of those formalities where it's like, here you go, here's these stations, rack and stack your top 3. Okay, here's what it is. I said, hey, well, there's obviously I want to be closer to my son and family. Here's where I go.
Florida? No,
they're on New Mexico.
Oh, hell.
Yeah. So what they do, the Army sends me the exact opposite direction, but I get to retire in 6 years. So it's a bittersweet moment. Unfortunately, it is part of the game. And as you know, dude, I'm sure you're watching the news. This world is shifting, man. Every day there's something new. Every day there's a new tweet. Every day there's a new post. And it's like, dude, what are we doing?
I feel like every time I get you in here, I ask you the same question. I'm going to ask you again. And I mean this with all due respect.
Ooh.
But I feel like a guy like you that's been in it a long time. Now, I've got some friends who have retired. We've talked about military being a good career path for folks. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think it is. But I feel like our leadership in the past, 20 years, if not a little bit longer, I didn't have kids, but I feel like our leadership the past 20 years isn't necessarily the type of leadership that I would want to send my child to go work underneath, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I sit there and I go, okay, well, what makes you guys so committed? And everybody I talk to says, well, each other, right? We do what we're assigned to do, but we're in it for each other. This probably isn't a good question. We might have to cut it out, but like, do you ever foresee a time where you would maybe discourage your son from enlisting?
Ooh.
Just because I feel like, and as time goes on and we get older and we look back and hindsight's 2020, we always feel like we were the good guys, right?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it's like you get older and you start looking things and more information starts coming out. You start learning things and you go, okay, well, we were still the good guys, but we did some bad stuff, right? But we still were the good guys. And then more time goes by and you go, oh, we're still the good guys. I hope we are. I want us to be the good guys. But sometimes I sit there and go, and I always use this example. I remember the first time we went into Iraq. Mm-hmm. They were asking, I guess, military officials, how many people do we need? And I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass at this point, but I think they were saying something like 500. We need 500,000. And the politician said, man, that feels like an invasion. We'll send 50,000. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, now we can get in there, we can kick some people's ass, but we can't hold these places. So we end up fighting them when we come back.
Yeah.
Right? And I sit there and go, okay, if I was a father of a son going into that situation, I would want you to send as many people as we need, as much equipment, so we can get in there and get the fuck out. 20 years, 25 years, whatever. I get that there's money to be made, but at the same time, like, I want my kid there as short a period of time as possible.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know I don't want you to put yourself in a pickle answering these questions, but I'm curious what's your opinion on that stuff.
No, that's actually an excellent point, and I do get that. I've gotten that a few times, actually. Obviously, I have a son, and he's a preteen now, and I know. I guess it comes down to control what you can't control. That's where I focus on being, and as far as my role in the military, because I'll tell you straight up, there's a lot of guys who I came in with, good leaders, outstanding warriors, did incredible things. And they immediately, even during like the last administration are like, I'm retiring. I'm done with this, man. They're done. And they're like, hey, I don't need this stress. I don't need this. I'm out. I'm out. And hey, you know what? Power to them. Go do that. But at the same time, though, I saw it from a different perspective. I saw it where, okay, if the good leaders are leaving, then what are you left with? So there needs to be a presence of a good leader still to hold the front, own their role. And as a first sergeant, I always say that to my soldiers and all my NCOs and all my leaders. I say, guys, most importantly, always just own your role, own your responsibilities, and control what you can't control. The rest of that, don't even worry about it. But right now, if you have a role and a responsibility, if I have a role and responsibility over 104 soldiers, well, guess what? That is my priority. I'm going to do whatever I can to safeguard them. I'm going to do whatever I can to, I owe it to their families to make sure that, hey, if they go anywhere, I bring them back. I make sure they're trained, they are ready, both medically, financially, physically, mentally, everything, they are ready. I owe that. It's my role. It's my responsibility. And I know that I have gotten all that. I've gotten that way. I've become this type of man because of the military. Not because who's in office, not because who's in charge, not because of that, but it is that firm root grounding that I've gotten, that I have now been this way because of that. And if my son were to ask, hey, I want to enlist, I want to join, I would be like, all right, let me make sure you know what you're getting into. I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes. That is your life. It is your choosing. If that is your path, that's your path. But I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into, because I want you to own it. If that's your decision, okay, own it. And that means you got to own the failures and own the success, but own it. And that's how I see it, and right now, yeah, it is shaky times. I mean, we get on social media, literally, I have soldiers, I have young soldiers, who I know are looking at, they're scrolling and they're confused and they're like, what's going on? I mean, we see it in the news all the time. We see all these soldiers getting in trouble for posting this and doing this and doing this. And you're just like, dude, so that can cause some confusion within the ranks, within my formation, that can cause confusion. So I have to make sure that I have to keep them dialed in, and they have that leader and that mentor and that guide to fall back on. So, hey, if there's ever a time, if I were to tell you, hey, Private Molina, if you're feeling discouraged, come to my office. We're going to talk. So
do you feel that you're having those conversations more frequently now than you did 10 years ago?
I will definitely say yes. I will definitely say that is...
Your approach different?
Yes, but you have to. Dude, I'll tell you this, man, as a leader, you have to be adaptive. You have to adapt, because it is generations a change and there's different, but so your leadership has to adapt. And I harp on all my leaders in my formation. I would tell them, guys, if you want to make this a career, your old ways, dude, put them behind you. Use them, learn from them, but understand that your leadership is going to have to be adaptive. Watch your approach. How I correct person A is going to be different how I correct person B now.
Sure.
Because they have two different upbringings. Somebody grew up with a family and a father, blah, blah, blah. This person grew up with no father or no family and was raised in the streets. So they may take and receive that differently. So I have to make sure I tailor my leadership style and my approach differently to meet the same common end state that we're all in tune to meet.
You posted a clip, and granted it was a clip out of probably a longer video. So, and if I'm being honest, I just saw the clip. But you were talking about brutal honesty.
Ooh.
Yeah. And one thing I was thinking, I need to go back and watch your full deal. But out of that clip, I want people, in my opinion, I want people to understand that brutal honesty is important. But as a person giving that brutal honesty, you can't, and this is new Gabe. Old Gabe was like, fuck them, just,
Dude,
rub their face in the poop in the carpet, That was kind of my mentality toward everything, especially when I was younger and I worked at jail. But now it's kind of like, okay, I think brutal honesty is important. But if you're going to give brutal honesty to somebody, you have to follow it with a path. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You can't just approach somebody and say, "Hey, you don't communicate well with people, and everybody can't stand you."
No.
But you've got to be able to say, "Hey, you don't communicate well, and everybody can't stand you, but this is what you can do differently,
Absolutely.
and I'll help you learn how to do those things." I had a conversation years ago with a family member. I won't say her name because I've said it 100 times, but it was like she was complaining about the younger kids, right? And I had to explain to her. It was kind of like she was complaining because my nephew was maybe not doing things he needed to do, and he was already 18. And she goes, I said, listen, this is what you got to remember. I said, our father, when he was 18, he was a grown man for 10 years.
Yeah.
His dad left him. He was providing for his sisters and his mother. I said, so at 18, he'd been a grown man for 10 years. I said, times are different. Things are different. I said, so the nephew, he still plays video games and, plays with Pokemon cards and all kinds of, because he doesn't have that life that, like you said.
Hold on, let me put up my Pokemon cards.
Don't pull them out, because
I'm putting them away right now.
Because then we're going to end up having to pause this so we can see if you got any worth money.
Yeah, hey, we got a pack we can open after this. I'm just kidding.
But I think people need to realize that when they want to give brutal honesty, a lot of times they forget to follow up with
you're absolutely
with
right,
a path to where you're trying to lead them.
You're absolutely right. And I always tail it as in bring a solution. If you're going to come up to me, same thing I'll tell my soldiers. So like when you asked me earlier if I'm approachable, I'll tell you my door is always open, and I have a soldier who's going to come to me, a grown man or a grown woman. And I say, you're an adult. Okay. What's the issue? They're going to tell me the issue. Okay. What is your solution to this issue? Because we're going to leave here. We're going to come up with a solution. But what is the solution? First, and I will tell them, and I will say, hey, I know the solution. I know a solution in my head. I have one already, but I want to hear your solution, because that's how I know you're going to own it. If you give me your solution to this problem or this issue, I know you're going to own it. If you give me that solution, if we agree with it, okay, let's do it. And so you're absolutely right. If you're going to be brutally honest, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, and I'll tell you, all right, hey, here's what I see an issue with right now. I want to hear your thoughts, but I promise you we're not leaving here until we come up with a solution. All right? Because there is a solution here. And it's funny that you say that, man, because I made that video because of the fact that literally we're seeing it now in our world, in our government, in everywhere. And my thing is, I'm not smart. I'm not super educated. You
don't have to be, because you're extremely handsome.
I'm not extremely handsome either.
You're like me. The better looking we are, the less we got to know.
Hey, we're both Gabes, man. Hey, cheers to both Gabes.
Hey,
it's a Gabe thing. We're both handsome, dude. You're handsome too. But
one of us is doing a little bit better.
But the reality is I said, dude, there's an issue, and the issue is there's no more. We're at a lack of personal leadership. And that's how I evaluate somebody. If you're going to be in a role with a responsibility, if you're a congressman, a senator, a politician, you have a role and a responsibility. So I'm going to hold you accountable to it, because I'm a leader. I'm a senior leader in the United States military. So I know everything. I've went to schools to be a leader every single time I promoted. So that's how I'm going to evaluate you. I'm not going to evaluate you on what your beliefs or ethnicity or race or blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to evaluate you more on your decision making and how when issues come up, how do you handle them? Because that's what leaders do. You're going to be a leader in the good times and the bad, not just a good time leader. Because if you're going to be that, be brutally honest. Let us know. Let us know. If I'm going to run for office, I'm going to tell you, hey, dude, vote for me. But I'm going to tell you this. When shit hits the fan, I'm not the guy. I'm being brutally honest. Why? Because I can't work under stress. If you're an employer for a company and you're hiring an employee, you're doing an interview and you tell them, hey, how good are you working under stress? And if they're brutally honest with you and say, man, I can't work under stress, to be honest with you. I've never had that opportunity. I don't know how I'm going to thrive in that. I don't know how I'm going to perform. Wouldn't you refer that than them just saying, oh, I do really good, sir. I do really good in stress. I'm a good fit for the team. And then when that stressful time comes, they're nowhere to be found.
You know what's funny is like I've done a lot of podcasts with people where they've given some great advice, and the advice they were giving was contradictory to the way I live my life. And I was like, oh, I'm the bad example. But you know what's funny is now that I've gotten older, because I think when I was younger, I'd be the guy, oh, yeah, I'll do whatever. And it's funny because, like, I find myself in that same position these days. We're talking about, being super busy. But my dad was the kind of guy that was always, he never told anybody no. Even if he had to go without or he had to do something, that was extra, he never said no. So I find myself kind of being in the same boat, right? And but as I've gotten older, now when I get asked that question, I'll tell them, I'm like, look, man, I'll work late. I'll put in extra hours. I know that that's part of what we do. But I'm also not 25 anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to do that every friggin' project.
And you're being honest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too is I guess being honest even when it's a negative, right? But you can approach that in a way of, like I just said, hey, I know it has to happen. I know we gotta go through some shit, and I'll do it with you. But I need you to manage these projects better to where it's not every friggin' time we do a job. You know what I'm saying? I had a conversation.
Exactly.
I had a conversation with my manager this week, I think it was earlier this week, and they're a little bummed out because I put in a ton of hours on one project. It's kind of my fray into the grocery industry again. I haven't done it in forever. A super particular project, not very big, but super particular. And there was a lot of things I didn't know, right? I know how to, and it was funny because we had a conversation and sometimes I'm talking while I'm thinking. And I said, well, on this one project, I said, that allows me to be more of a designer, right?
Yeah.
There's fewer restrictions and prototypical things. So I approach that as a designer. See, this other one, I got to figure out what's going on because I've never done that before, and it has to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
So the problem was, and then this is where I normally would leave stuff like this out, but now I'm like, I need to tell them everything. I said, but this time we had 3 people reviewing, and all 3 of you do it differently.
Yeah. I
said, so every time one of you would review, you would put me on a different direction. I'd take off in that direction, get done. If somebody else would review it, and they had a new direction. I said, you guys need to be more consistent with that. I explained to them those things, and he was very understanding, But I also told him, I said, this is the other problem. You can't be stacking deadlines, man. You can't tell me I got a 90% deadline on one project on a Monday and a 90% deadline 2 days later.
Yep.
You can't do that.
No.
And I get that we were busy and it was swamped, and that's one of those things that we just deal with it. I said, but you can't. I feel like those dogs that they take hog hunting, right?
Yeah.
The dog's gonna chase that fucking pig. It's gonna hold on. It's gonna fight. That pig's gonna tear the dog up, but the dog's gonna stay in the fight. But the dog needs you to show up with the fucking knife to stab the hog.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way.
Do your part.
I'm gonna do everything you want me to do, and I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. But I need you to manage this better.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And that goes to kind of like what I'm saying, man. It's sad because we live in a time now, and this is just my opinion, team. Hey, don't hold this against me, all right, guys. But this is just from my own observation because I am a senior leader in the United States military. I know the characteristics needed, to fill that role. And right now, just throughout society, we're lacking. We're in a pandemic of lacking personal leadership. People just are so quick to point fingers and not quick to just own it and be honest.
Do you think Gen X fucked up as parents?
You know, it's funny you say that because a lot of people like to point the blame at Gen Z. You know, they always point the blame and like, yo, dude. I mean, I did a video too, not too long ago. I did a video because like studies came out that, yo, Gen Z is like the dumbest generation. You know, that was like the article. Like it's the only generation where everything went backwards, you know, as far as, you know, their intellectuality, you know, and understanding, critical thinking skills. And I get it, but it's like, okay. But my question is, as a leader, you know, the type of leader I am, okay, if that's the end state, what led to that end state?
Right.
Let's go to that.
That's how my mind works too.
Yeah, and that's awesome, dude. And I'm glad you have that mindset because a lot of people just see that bumper sticker and they're just like, oh, Gen Z, joke's on you guys. Good luck. You know, no, man. Who are the parents? You know, what was their upbringing like? Who were the leaders in charge of that generation? Because as a leader, your resume is who you lead. That's the product. You know, their failures are your failures. Their successes are your successes. Like that's what it should be, you know? And that mindset is like, that's what I mean by there's a pandemic of we're just lacking personal leadership. You know, no one's really truly owning their roles anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I know a lot of Gen X parents that did a great job. And I know a few that were like, treated their children like, especially the first child, like a buddy, right? And
I've seen it, dude. I know. Trust me.
My dad would tell me, I am not your friend. He would tell me that regularly. You treat me with respect. You talk to me with respect. I'm not your friends. And,
I know exactly what you mean.
And it was funny because even I grew up in a small town. So even if I was out and about, the big thing was when you leave this house, you represent the family. So be respectful.
That's right.
Because what you do is a reflection on all of us in this house. And it was funny because when I went to Buddy's house and I acted up and I got in trouble, I was the last motherfucker my dad believed. You know, I would sit there and go, no, they're lying, Dad. And it was like, oh, you're calling Miss Moffat a liar? And all of a sudden I was getting spankings for calling Miss Moffat a liar now, you know? But, you know, it's funny because I tell people, it wasn't until I was like, I think I was 26 that it dawned on me. Everything. My dad, I told everybody when I was a kid, in my opinion, Dad was just the guy that showed up at the end of the day and spanked me.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have a great relationship. We didn't go fishing. We didn't do any of those things. He worked his ass off, and when he got home, he was a discipliner. And in hindsight, I'm sure he would have loved to just come home and chill and hang out and throw the ball, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
No, he had asshole kids that he had to come discipline because they didn't listen when he was gone. We were somewhat fearful of him, but at the same time, we knew that he loved us, and so we respected him, you know, for the fact that he was just our father. But like I've heard people say, my kid doesn't have to respect anybody who he doesn't respect him, and I'm like, this motherfucker's 3,
dude.
You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
so like
dude.
To me, it's kind of like that was the cart before the horse mentality. You know, it's like no, they need to learn to be respectful of other people and elders and all that other good stuff, right? But,
absolutely, man, and it's sad. Honestly, it just breaks my heart because it's like, dude, what are you doing? You know, we're going backwards. Like, but it's, you don't understand that, like, you got to stop pointing the finger at everybody. Like, just fucking own it, dude. I mean, freaking own it, dude. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse.
Hey, I'm sorry real quick, and I'm terrible with names, but what was her name? Erin?
That's our producer, Erin.
Erin's amazing, but I just want to tell you we did hear you flush the toilet. But anyway, I'm sorry. No. I'm just picking on you. She's super cute, by the way.
I know you got a great. I didn't know you have a producer now. You got a whole production team back there.
You brought everything,
guys. What you guys don't know,
this
there's literally like 10 people behind the cameras right now. I haven't seen. You know, Gabe is doing good because literally when I first came here, it was just him. Now there's like 10 people. Hey, is that Perrier water? I'll take one of those.
Yeah, it is
please.
actually Perrier.
I'll take one of those, please.
No, this is all Gabe's doing, and the only thing I brought to the table was a fat guy. So
that's me.
But yes, very interesting that I feel like we need to.
Let me ask you that, dude. Do you think people just like not owning shit anymore? Like I honestly, like that's just what it comes down to. It's like, because I mean, I've seen a lot of episodes that you've done, you've talked to a lot of amazing people, man, and they all talk about like there's always an issue or something that applied. Like at least some episodes that you've talked to.
You know, I think that there is a sense of ownership for a lot of folks after they've already hit rock bottom, right? And I think that a lot of times, like, and I'm guilty of it too, man. I love to blame everybody but me. But it isn't. I don't get to the root of the problem till I start looking at myself,
bro.
Right? And when I start looking at myself, I go, "Oh, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently." You know, we had all that stuff going on in Minnesota, and the chick tried to run over the cop, and he shot her, and all these things happen, right? And I sit there and I go, everybody throws their hands in the air, right? Oh my God, look what just happened.
Always.
And there's a few politicians. One is running for Congress out of South Texas. I've been watching him too because initially he made some sense to me, and now I feel like he's going all in and he's just taking the path that you're supposed to take. But like a lot of these things that happen, I sit there and I go, okay, I go way back. You know what I'm saying?
Do it.
You're
a smart man.
I'll give you an example, and I've talked about this a couple of times already. That little boy, the cute little bunny ears, who ICE picked up his dad and took him because the dad took off running, so ICE picked him up, and the mom wanted to come get him. And so he ended up in Dilley. It was a whole thing, and it was interesting because I was having a conversation with a buddy, and he goes, "What do you think about that?" And I said, in all honesty, I don't care. I said, because this boy is in a detention center in Dilley. I said, but he's warm, he's fed, he's safe. He's actually with his dad, who's the guy that left him in the street. I said, he's doing pretty good. I said, what about these kids? And if you pay,
but you won't hear about that.
Well,
you're not going to hear. You had to do your own research, or people, but you're not going to hear that with that bumper sticker story.
Well, that's what I see when I see pictures of him at the detention center.
Yeah, because
I've also seen pictures and videos of coyotes in Arizona in the wintertime dropping kids over the fence.
Exactly.
No
one ever talks about that.
I've seen the stories of the coyotes dropping the kids in the river so that the Border Patrol agent go save the kid and they can get away.
Exactly.
And so a lot of these people that are up in arms about those things, I'm like, well, where were you when this other stuff was happening?
Thank you.
When I always use my sister as an example on this too, like with the stuff going on in Minnesota, right? I did podcasts with several folks when that was first happening, and I said, "This is how simple I keep it." I said, "I got a old lesbian sister out in the country in South Texas. Now she's got to carry a gun on her hip everywhere she goes at her own house, on her own property, because there's illegals running around all over the place."
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I would ask: when you had an illegal come in, what were they doing? They were going straight to Border Patrol, turn themselves in, get processed, get shipped wherever they want to go. If it's that easy, who are the people that are running from the cops and running through ranches? It's like, who are those people? Those are the people that and this is what irritated me. I said, the government isn't doing their job in protecting the border, and there's going to be a potential. This old lesbian out in the middle of the country is going to find herself in a position where she has to defend herself with her firearm. And it's going to change your life because you didn't do your job.
Yeah.
One thing people forget, and it's funny because like I find myself with way more liberal friends than I ever thought I had. But it's interesting because in the very beginning, after the second round of Trump's administration, Tom Homan said, which he happened to be the border guy under Obama too, but he said, let us come to the sanctuary cities. Let us come to your town. Let us come get these criminal illegals out of the jail. I'll send 1 or 2 cops, 1 or 2 agents. Go pull them out of the jail. We're going to send them back. He said, if you don't do that, we got to send a team into the neighborhood to go get this guy. And he even said back then in the very beginning, if we do that, we're going to take everybody we find.
Yep. So
let us come get them out of the jail.
Yep.
And all of these sanctuary cities said, no. We're not going to play that game, right? This is the problem. When you're running a city like that, or you're a governor of a state, it's your job to take care of your people.
Own your role, own your responsibility.
Own your role. What you did by not taking responsibility and working with, ICE to come get these guys out of jail, and you're sending 2 cops only, what you did was you put, much like this old lesbian lady,
Yep.
you put these people in a position that they wouldn't have to be in had you allowed that to happen.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody points fingers, but it's like, what did you do to stop this from happening?
Exactly. And they're pointing their fingers at the wrong people.
Sure.
Because it's funny that you said that, man, because I actually did a video on that.
Oh, did you?
I did a small little short
Damn it,
little
Gabe.
video.
You're making me sound like I don't watch your stuff. And
No,
I do,
it's
and I
totally
do,
fine.
Gabe.
It's totally
I
fine,
do.
guys. Hey, Comfort and Chaos. Check it out, guys.
Check it out.
The
The production is off chain.
I did a video on that because it was to the point where I'm tired of, as a leader, once again, I'm tired of what you call selective outrage.
Sure.
We live in a time where standards are now selective. And no one's just owning their role, owning their responsibility. Because if you owned your role, then we know exactly who to have that outrage at. And now, I also, mind you, in that situation, that Minnesota situation, I looked at it from both sides. I did. As someone with tactical experience, I looked at it from that side, from the mission team and how they operated. And then I looked at it, okay, from the other side, from the governor's side, from the local politicians, the ones who have the role and the responsibility. And I said, okay, first things first. All right, let's look at it from the governor's perspective. Dude, your job are the people who put you in that office. That is your job. Their safety, their security. You look out for that team. That is your platoon, and you're the platoon sergeant. Sure. That is who you protect. So if I were you, don't go over there and start pointing fingers, blah, 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 blah. I would have been like, look, guys, I'm working this issue. I'm hearing you guys. I hear you. I'm working it from my end. But what I need you guys to do, your safety and security is my priority. That is my primary concern. So right now, get out of their way. I'm working it. All right. I'm working it. We're going through meetings. I'm on video chats, on video calls. I'm working it. All right. But right now, your safety and security is my priority. I don't want no one getting hurt. Get out of the way. Don't put yourself in a risk where risk is now elevated.
He did the exact opposite.
Oh, exactly. But that's how I would handle it. Please stay out of their way. From the other side, okay, let's go now to the I side. If I'm that tactical team leader, you got to be like, look, guys, check it out. We are not police officers. We're not. It's not our job. We're not there. So I need to make sure you guys know what you're getting into because the environment is different than what you guys are trained for. Our job was to just transport. Well,
that was the other thing is even during all that going on, the governor and I think even the mayor weren't allowing local law enforcement to participate at all.
Exactly. So they're having to do both. They're trying to do everything because local law enforcement isn't even helping them. So they have no support. So now they're having to pull all these extra shifts or job roles that are not even what they're trained for. Their job is HVT, high value target operations. That's what they do. They know a target. They get their job is to go pick up the target, take them to be judicial handled. That's it. That's all they do. And so in this sense, I'm like, okay, if I was on that tactical side, when I'm getting that mission, I would be telling that chief or whoever's giving me that mission, be like, hey, sir, I get it. But before I take my team out, can I make this recommendation? Because it's crazy out there. Can we do this op, say at 3:00 in the morning? Can we do this op at night, late at night? Because you're having us out there in the middle of the day when people are out and just going through their lives and we're getting, the risk is elevated for my team. And not only that, for civilian casualties. And I want to mitigate that. So, sir, is there a way we can adjust the timeline for this op for 03? When everyone's asleep, the majority of the people are asleep, we can go in, we'll pick up the target, and boom, before the sun's up, he's already detained. You know what I'm saying? So there's different protocols. There's different, when it comes to that leadership, hey, I know my team, I know the capability, I know the environment. Here's what we can do to handle that. The governor and politician side, hey, I know my team, I know my people, I know my role. Let me handle this, but there's none of that.
But also the monkey wrench in that, the X factor, so to speak, are the protesters being paid and bussed in.
Exactly.
So it's like you've got a cat and mouse game.
But I'll tell you what, how many protesters do you see at 3:00 in the morning?
Well, there was a time there that they were staying at the hotels where they thought the agents were staying
And
to make noise all night.
I'd rather let them stay at the hotels and make noise than in middle of convoys and stopping convoys in the middle of the street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Is kind of like, had they done that, I'm sure tactics would have still changed for even the paid protesters. But I mean, that's
one way you can mitigate. That's how you can filter out. Okay, hey,
Yeah.
you're a father of 3 and you're out here protesting at 3 a.m. with your kids. Where's the real issue here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Unless you're paid. Why are you out here protesting at 3 a.m. while my guys are out there operating? That makes zero sense.
And you know, one thing that bothers the shit out of me as just a John Q. Public is, man, you go back to Ferguson, you go back to that kid that, was beating up the guy who was like the local neighborhood security guy.
Yeah, dude.
You go to, even George Floyd, you go to all these different things. And it's interesting because I sit there and I go, you got played, man.
Everybody.
You're a political tool for other people.
That's what happens when you have a selective standard.
Yes.
You're playable.
And that's the problem, is a lot of people, I don't know if they realize that. It's like when they're done with you, they don't give a shit that you got shot in the street.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Politicians don't care
Your
about
family
you.
will sit there and mourn you for the rest of their life. And those people that, were handing out, protesting signs, they're fucking gone. They're going to the next thing. And it's like the only ones left are the people who loved you, and now you're fucking gone.
Yeah,
you played that
we
stupid
used your
game for these
name,
people.
and that's it. We use your name, we use your photo.
Yeah,
all right.
man. Which is just like this kid with the fucking bunny ears,
Yep.
right? I told my buddy, I said, if he was a fucking 15-year-old pimple-faced kid trying to fuck girls, they wouldn't give a shit about him. But he's a cute little boy with bunny ears, and he's like 5. So we're getting used. There was
Do you remember the kid from freaking Cuba many, many years ago?
I remember him.
Remember that kid?
Nobody pays attention.
No one does.
Elian Garcia.
That's right.
right.
And remember, there was that whole big old thing. And where's that?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Dude. It's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day, and we are talking about that same thing. It wasn't the Elian kid, but it's like, so many times you sit there and you think that, hey, I'm gonna do something, right? I hear people say, this is historic, and we need to be a part of it. I have a friend, and again, I won't use names because I hate editing that shit. But she showed up at one of the ICE protests downtown, and they went with her friend and her friend's little girl who was like 11, and her friend's father who was like 90. And I was like, you need to go home, man. Because what's going to happen when somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent and they start throwing gas, and everybody takes off scrambling, and they run over the old man and they stomp the little girl. That little girl's going to grow up the rest of her life going, I hate ICE, because of what happened. And it's like, this is one thing that I would tell people, even with the stuff in Minnesota. If you want to go protest something and you want to give them hell, that's your right as a citizen. Go do it. But you might get fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So
understand the risk. You are taking.
There was one guy that took a rubber pellet to the eye, and I saw a post he said, I lost my eye forever. Listen, man, you got involved, which is great. It's your right. But you might get fucked up, and you got to be mindful of that. If you're not prepared for that, keep your ass at home.
Yep.
Now the frosty side of me goes, well, who's to say that all that won't flip one day, and the other side's going to want to protest?
Yeah.
I sit there and I think about how if something irritated me, and let's say a lot of Texans, and we decided we didn't want to participate with whatever the federal government was trying to do, anything. I'm just making this up. It's like, what can you really do about it? And I slowly keep coming back to nothing, right? Because before you know it, you're Ruby Ridge, you're Waco, you're January 6th, you're George Floyd. They paint you however they want to paint you, and then they arrest you if they need to. Or you're Charlie Kirk and now you're dead, right? Or you keep going back. We talked about earlier about all these situations and things that happen, and it's like, okay, well, I don't want to get all. I love conspiracy theories, but I love them so much I try and stay out of them.
Hey.
You know, but it slowly starts to get to
Let me know when you want to get into it.
well,
I'm here.
This is the thing is like, slowly it's like, man, maybe the whole purpose of a conspiracy theory is the fact that, hey, I'm doing something, I'm doing a psyop, and I need you to think that everybody who thinks that what I'm doing is crazy. I need you to think that they're crazy, that I'm doing what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
You know, and you slowly find yourself going, man, you find out about like, the shit that went down in South America with them, taking guns down there and drugs. And it's like, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, where it's like, sometimes I feel like I want to say that we're always the good guys, even when we're doing bad. But like, what is the byproduct of that? Even like with the Venezuela stuff, I had Jeffrey Adicott in, and he's a super sharp guy on that stuff. And I sit there and I go, everything that's been happening, and this is just in my mind, right? I sit there and go, everything that's been happening is because Trump feels like he needs to get this done before the midterms, right? And it goes all the way back to Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
And it's controlling that oil. It's limiting China and Russia's access to certain oil, even though, yes, Russia does have some. But then it was like, okay, what's the next move? It's a slow. I feel like it's a chess game.
It's like a game of chess.
Yeah, and I think he's playing the long game, which
Smart.
I sit there and I go, okay. I was watching. I use his name. Well, I'm not gonna use his name, but the guy who's running for Congress, South Texas. It's funny because when I see a lot of these politicians talk about what's going on, they do it on the surface level, and it reminds me of that fucking kid with the bunny ears. It's like, yeah, you're looking at this thing going, why are we going to Iran? And it's like, it's a long-term game. Do I think it's a great idea? Maybe, because this is another thing that we run into, and people sit there and go, well, why are we doing that? And it's like, you don't realize that China and Russia were already influencing Venezuela.
Yeah.
Do you really want them controlling that crude?
Because they're playing the long game too.
They are too.
So you got to understand too. Yeah, everyone's trying to play a long game here, and it's like, okay, and that's smart for you to think that way because not a lot of people do.
Say it again. Nobody calls me smart.
Well, you are very smart
Thanks,
for
Gabe.
thinking that way. It must be a Gabe thing, But no, you're absolutely right, man.
Hey,
And
keep drinking. Keep drinking.
you're absolutely right. But that the long game factor is really what is played. But it's just a matter of like how it's handled, and we all see it. Like you can hire some kid to cut your grass or do your yard work for you, and you can hire a different kid.
Maybe not these days, but anyway, go ahead.
I know, not these days, But I guarantee you, no matter who you hire, if you hire two different people, they're gonna find a different way to get it done.
Yeah.
And it may not be a way that you like it. Maybe one person can get it done in a day. The next person probably takes 3 days, but either way, they're going to achieve that end state. But because that's what the goal is. Now, are you going to get mad at every single one that you hired?
Some people do.
And that's the problem though. And it goes back to like what we said. So we are in a time where it's selective outrage. That's what it is. And when you have a selective standard, guess what you have? Guess what comes with that? As a leader, if you have a selective standard, you have somebody or you're in charge of your employees. You have 2 employees. Let's just put it this way. You have 2 employees.
Well, apparently there's 10.
Well, yeah, you have 10 people here,
But only one's pretty.
Thank you. Anyways, but no, so you have that. If you have a selective standard, you have 2 employees, one person shows up late. How do you handle that? And you're going to handle that in a way that you're going to enforce for your organization, for the success of the organization. Now you have your favorite employee of the 2 who shows up late. Are you going to hold him to the same standard, even though you've known him for years and he's worked there longer? Or are you going to keep the same standard across the board? Because if not, if you're going to handle them differently, now you have what's called a selective standard. And now the rest of the organization is going to see that, and now you just compromise the integrity of that organization.
You just made my stomach hurt. I was going to ask you a minute ago, and I don't want to change your deal, but since we're right there at that point, like I've been that guy. I've been the late guy. I've been the guy who's the favorite. And I was going to ask you this earlier, and I guess that's why I kind of stopped you, because it was back in my head. What is your take on perception is reality? Because I'll tell you what has happened to me. Now I'm great. Now I work from home, and so I literally roll out of bed and start working.
Lucky you.
My entire life, though, I was fucking late every single day. And this is the thing that I always thought was interesting was I was late every day at every job I've ever been at, ever. But when shit was bad, I was the guy who stayed the latest.
Okay.
I was the guy that worked the hardest. I'm the one that did all the stuff nobody else wanted to do. I was that guy. So there were times, man, in my life, I've slept in parking lots for an hour to start working the next day. So, like, it was always interesting to me because, like, and I get it, man. I mean, and this is where I kind of go, well, fuck perception is reality. The reality was when shit was bad, I was your guy.
Okay.
But then things would happen where work would slow down. All of a sudden, we're just working 40-hour weeks. Maybe it's a 40-hour week, and we're probably doing like 30 hours of work now. You know what I'm saying? And now it turned into a problem, right? And I was like, man, you're late. And it would be years into, working at a place. And it was funny because, like, that's when I was like, okay, I need to start getting there on time because it's a problem, right?
Okay.
But when I was putting in 50, 60 hours, it's cool, right? It's like you stayed here till 11 o'clock at night, and you got here at 9, so okay. And it was funny because, like, that was where I'd sit there and it would irritate the fuck out of me because I was kind of like, okay, when I was your bitch, we were cool, right? But now it's not. And so everybody, I would hear over and over, perception's reality, Gabe. Perception's reality. And I understand that, but I'm kind of like, okay, where was that perception when everybody would go home and me and one or two other guys were here till 2 o'clock in the morning?
Exactly.
I've had a boss who I almost worked with again. But I remember we had 2 projects. It was 2 deadlines. Me and my buddy, everybody went home. Me and my buddy stayed all night. At 7 o'clock, I went to my car. I took a nap for an hour, and I came back inside and we started working. At 9 o'clock, the bosses started rolling in. And I remember him going, "You're not done yet?" And I was like, in my mind, I played it cool because it's a small world. But in my mind, I was like, where were you, motherfucker? You were home in bed.
Yeah.
You were with your wife having dinner.
Yeah.
While me and this other guy stayed here all motherfucking night, and I slept in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck, your perception is reality. That's how I feel sometimes.
And I understand that. And I understand from that perspective. So I will tell you this. All right. That right there is a failure, I would say, on multiple levels. Okay. One, first things first, like we're talking about ownership. All right. If you're gonna own your role, own your responsibility, you know that, hey, okay, if I gotta be here at 08, I'm gonna be here at 08.
Ugh, I hate when you do that.
I know.
Even though you did come late today, but I think that's because you're getting up there in age.
Let me tell you this though. Like it's one of those things where if that is what the expectation is, like it's laid out, hey, welcome to the team, Gabe. Appreciate you coming on board. We're looking forward to working with you. Here's the expectations going forward. Okay. Now, if you had that, now I'm not saying if you did or not, I don't know, because that failure also is on the leadership part. They got to own their role, own their responsibility. They got to be the example. They got to hold on to accountability. They got to enforce that, because the work doesn't stop on that. And it's like, hey, Gabe, welcome to the team. All right. Hey, we operate here from 08 to 4 o'clock. So 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. All right. We try to get everybody out of here. By 10 after 4, I'm walking around and I'm doing my rounds, checking to see why you're still here. So if you need to stay late, let me know. But I'm trying to get everybody out of here by 4. Why? Because I owe it to get you time to go and have some time to rewind and recharge and spend time with your families and be ready to be back here the next day. So by 8:05, if I'm walking around, I'm like, hey, where's Gabe at? Oh, he's running late. Okay, maybe something happened. Okay, next day.
Yeah, I was asleep.
Next day comes, it's 8:10. Hey, where's Gabe at? Oh, he's running late. He's coming. Okay, you know what? This is 2 days in a row. I need to talk with him. When he gets here, send him to my office. Okay. And then we have that conversation. Hey, Gabe, what's going on? That's 2 days in a row. You're running late. Is there something wrong with your alarm clock or what's up? Like, do you just not care about this job? Like, let me know, because at least I need to know who I'm working with, because I need to know. Everybody else is here able to do this. Why can't you do it? I need to know what's the issue. Is it something that I need to do, or is it something that we need to do? Let's come up with a solution. Let's figure this out. Do I need to call you at 7:00 to make sure you're up? And then, hey, Gabe, I noticed you're staying late. You're sleeping in the car. That's not cool, man. You need to be home with your family. What are you doing? It's not life, limb, or eyesight. Hey, let me know. If you feel like you got to stay late like that, not on my watch. Let's figure this out. Because your wife needs you. Your family needs you. This job, yeah, I get it. Projects come, but we can figure out a plan on that. If you're going to stay late, then I'll tell you what, let's compensate. You come in later. Come in at 10. That way you can stay. If you're going to stay later, let's figure something out.
Which I think was always the rub, right? Because the rub was always like, hey, man, you're getting here late. But there was never the, hey, you stayed late. It was, when it was time to stay late, it was like, hey, we're going to need people to work late. It's like, okay.
Exactly. And sometimes that's where leaders come in and know who they're leading. And it's like, hey, man, let me figure this out. I noticed you've been coming in late. Is it because you're just having a hard time sleeping or waking up? But I also notice you're staying late. Do we need to adjust? Do I need to talk to the bosses and figure out adjusting your timeline? Will that help you? Or is this project dependent? Whatever it is, let's come up with a solution, because it's not sustainable. Why? Because the whole organization sees that, and it's going to reflect negatively on me and the rest of the organization. So I need to know. Let's come up with a solution.
Let me ask you this, because I have another thought. And maybe it's me being ignorant, which is, there's a high likelihood, man, I ain't gonna lie. There's times where I go, how does management not know what the current workload is?
Ooh.
Because there's times where it's like we'll have conversation. The conversation we had this week. What's going on? Hey, man, you can't stack deadlines like that. You're the guy making the deadlines.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I telling you the problem when you're responsible for the outcome of what's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Then you'll see that. And this goes back to, like I said, man, we're in a pandemic of personal leadership lacking.
Is that what it is? Or do they legitimately not sometimes go, oh, man, we didn't see that?
And that's usually what it is, because of the fact that they're human. We're all human, And sometimes people get put in positions not knowing full on what the role and responsibility is in that position. And if I'm a team leader, and I'm a task manager and I'm managing all these tasks, then I should know my team's capability. I need to know, what are they capable of? How many tasks are they are capable of handling? Because I don't want to saturate my team, because I'm only as effective as my team, And I want to make sure that, so if I'm getting those tasks and I'm managing those tasks, I'm going to be like, okay, we need to prioritize. Hey, these 3 are going to be on the back burner for next quarter. These ones are priority. Let me get with my team. Hey, guys, all right, here's what's coming down the pipe. We have these 3 tasks up. All right, I need to know. I need that buy-in from you guys. Is this something we can do? Because here's the deadline. Now, what do we need to do to get these tasks completed? And I know you guys are fully capable. I'm like, Gabe, I know your capability, man. You come in here and you grind. And I know your capability. What can you do to help us meet this mark? Is this something doable?
And I guess this is where I get a little feelings hurt.
Uh-oh.
I feel like a lot of places that I've worked, we make this eye contact where I go, hey, man, I am a self-described motherfucker, right? And now, granted, this isn't the military. This is an engineering firm, right?
That's a good name for a podcast episode.
Oh, I got a great album.
Self-described motherfucker.
I tell people, I'm like, I'm the guy who, when it's time to get dirty, and now granted, this is engineering. It's not the military, something serious like that. But to me, it's like, when it's time to get dirty, I'm going to get the dirtiest with you, But the flip side of that is, when things chill out, I'm gonna take a little bit back, right? I'm gonna sleep a little bit later, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you know what? We're slowed down a little bit. I'm gonna take a little time off. I'm going to, maybe take some PTO, maybe put some appointments that I've been meaning to have. I'm gonna put them in that area, because I'm paying attention. This is where we're slowing down time.
Yeah.
But when it's time to get dirty, I'm gonna get dirty with you. But
Yeah.
that's where it's almost like, that's where I fuck myself, because I get to the point where it's like, that agreement's okay when we got a lot of work to do.
So I'll ask you this: is that communicated?
No, not very well. Because like I said, it's me and my father-in-law looking at each other in the bathroom, going, "What are we doing here? Are we on the same page without talking?"
But I'll tell you what though, you probably, as you and your father-in-law, you probably respect when it's communicated what the end state. Like, what are we trying to do here?
Yeah.
What's the plan here? If it's communicated, you're probably going to take it a little bit more easier than if you're blindsided.
And I do that better as I've gotten older. We talked about aging and stuff. But like now I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? When I talk to people, one thing I do a lot of is under promise, over deliver. That's kind of what I like to do, right? What, I get it to you in 5 days, but in reality, I'll get it to you in 3.
And that's good. And as long as that's communicated, right? You communicate that to you.
I try not to communicate that, because then they're going to be like, oh, you can get it done in 3? Can you do it in 2? You know what I'm saying?
No, but you don't have to say the time. You can just be like, hey, this is my work ethic. This is how I perform. Here's my performance. Just know this.
Well, I do a better job of communicating times, dates, expectations. Hey, I need X, Y, and Z by Friday at 2:00. And it's like, I do that now, and I notice people are more receptive to that.
Oh,
but
exactly.
Here's another problem that we have in the engineering industry. There's a lot of autism, man. And I'm serious. Like, it sounds funny, but guys who are autistic, even a hair, they do real well in engineering, because it's mathematics. You know what I'm saying? It's linear lines.
I can never do that shit.
There's not enough room for.
Hey, thank you for your service.
Well, what's funny is I've worked at places where, because I have a super charming personality.
Yeah, you do.
I've worked at places where they won't let certain guys make phone calls to architects and owners.
I believe
They'll have
it.
me do it.
I believe
They're
it.
like, I don't want him calling. You call him.
Yeah.
And so I'll call. I'll get the information, and I'll hand it over to this guy, because if he called, it would not go well.
I believe it.
But yeah, man, I'm sorry for taking you off on a tangent.
No, dude. No, man. And you're absolutely right. And that comes just down to like, hey, you got to know your team. You got to know who you lead, And it's funny, though, communication is key. We say that all the time. You'll hear that every soldier in the military. That's one thing they teach you from basic training. Communication is key. I'll never forget one time when I was in basic training, we had a guy who messed up in our platoon. So we all had to do push-ups, and the drill sergeant's like, everybody hit the ground right now. So we're all hitting the ground, and we're like, uh-oh, what happened? Like, this is weird. We're just chilling by our bunks, and the drill sergeant walks in and says, everybody hit the ground right now. And we're just like, oh, shoot. So we roll over. Everyone's in the front leaning rest. Front leaning rest is where you're in a push-up position, but your arms are just up. And he says, all right, when I say down, you guys are going to go down. And you're going to come back up. When I say up, you come up, and you're going to say communication is key. Ready? Down, up. And we're like, communication is key. Down, up, communication is key. And then he was his way of teaching us, like, guys, communication is key. Don't blindside your drill sergeant. Don't blindside your leadership. Don't blindside your leaders, because as a team, communication is key. If you know this, say it. Come up on the net. If you don't know it, come up on the net. Let us know. Communication is key. And it's funny, because even as a first sergeant, I would always tell my soldiers, and I'll tell my NCOs, guys, over communicate than no communicate. So if you send a message out, if you send a text message out or whatever, and you didn't get a response, well, guess what? Send another message out to someone else, or call, or whatever. Over communicate. Because if you over communicate up, then it's going to mitigate the issue when that communication comes down. Because if it comes down, now it's already too late. Now you're no longer proactive. Now you're reactive.
Yeah. You work with a lot of different people, and communication being as critical as it is, how do you get a word in with a Puerto Rican? I'm joking.
I know. It's funny because one of my good friends, one of my golfing buddies too, he's Puerto Rican. We always go to town all the time, and sometimes I joke around, because we're in the military, we joke around all the time. And he'll come to my office and he'll talk, and I'll be like, hold up, bro. I'm waiting for the subtitles to finish.
You know what's funny is the over communicating thing. I love it because, and sometimes I feel like people get irritated by it because they don't communicate very often.
Because they're not used to it. I feel like too.
I tell people I tell you everything because I'm not only telling you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and whatnot. Sometimes I'm telling you something, I don't need feedback from you, but it's an opportunity for you to go, oh, hey, we're not doing that after all. This project got put on hold, or hey, we're not doing that anymore, or somebody else. So actually communicating that to somebody isn't always me asking somebody, hey, am I doing right? Which is kind of hard because a lot of times people feel like this motherfucker doesn't know what he's doing. He's always asking questions. But it's like, it's not so much that. It's more of I'm giving you an opportunity to know what I'm doing. So if you have information that I don't, this is your chance to interject that information.
Absolutely.
And redirect me or stop me or whatever. But if you don't, I'm going to keep going,
Absolutely, man. And that is key. Communication is key. So when you have your own firm here in a couple of years and you hire in your own staff, let them know, hey, guys, communication is key.
Okay.
No Puerto Ricans. Subtitles required.
What's funny is I used to work at the jail in George West, and
I know you've told me that before. So you were a corrections officer.
Yeah, it was for about a year. I was right out of high school, and basically I just went there and wore a badge and then ate frozen chicken.
Dude, that's not an easy job.
You know what's funny? People ask me, they would say, "What's your favorite part about that job?" Or what's your least favorite part about the job? Or no, they say that's what's the favorite. And I would say my favorite part about the job is when the shit hit the fan, it was my job to take care of it. My least favorite part about that job was when the shit hit the fan, I was the one to take care of it.
Dude.
And so it was one of those things where it's like, whatever mood you were in, right? Am I in a mood to do this tonight?
Yeah.
Let's fucking do it. If I'm not, it's the worst, man.
It's funny too. I just saw this clip on social media. He's a big influencer. What's his name?
Gabe Molina?
No, not Gabe. He the next guy. I know that guy's big, but
Mr. Beast?
It's Charleston White.
That dude's hilarious.
Yeah, right? Charleston White. I think that's his name, right?
Yeah.
I think that's his name. Your production team?
Yeah, black dude with a glass eye?
Yeah, so black dude with a glass eye. Now, this guy, he keeps it real. This guy just keeps it real. He's from the streets, and he keeps it real. And it's funny because he said the other day, he's talking about, he's like, man, all these people protesting cops and all that stuff. He always says you see all these black people protesting cops and all this stuff. He said, ain't nobody protesting correction officers. And then he said, they're the worst too. He said, they are the worst. He said, you go in there, they are the worst. They're beating you. They are way worse than what the cops are doing on the outside.
They can be.
But he was literally being real. And he brought up a good point. And I said, yeah, man, it's actually true. Like, no one ever knows what goes on in the inside. And all those killers, all those thugs, all those people, who are getting put and locked up. And it's like, dude, they're being handled. They're being escorted. They're being guarded. They're being secured. And it's just like, damn, no one ever talks about that.
I've always used, and this is one thing that I learned from there is, and I tell people, one thing I learned from working at the jail was I can influence your behavior by my behavior. And so there was a few times where that paid off. There was one guy I remember in particular. He's this huge, tall Mexican dude. He'd gotten arrested earlier in the day because he was drunk with his brother and his cousins. They stopped in the nearby town to pee on the side of the road. Something happened. They all got in a fight. He beat them all up and drove off with a truck. Oh. They arrested him, brought him in drunk. And it was funny because I've always been cocky. I always tell everybody for being fat and unattractive, I have too much self-esteem. But I remember I showed up and they said, hey, we got one in the drunk tank, but he's dangerous. Be careful. And so I was trying to impress the chicks there. So I'll take care of it. I'll go book them, right? It was just a sheet of paper. You get some.
Whoa, there's chicks in the correction facility or what?
Well, they were dispatchers and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then
so
other jailers.
Trying to flex.
I was trying to flex. But it's just literally one sheet of paper, right? So they're like, told me what happened, why he was arrested, and they're like, he's being real aggressive and won't let us book him. And I said, all right, I'll take care of it. I said, I got it. I'll handle it. And so we had this big cabinet with all kind of chains and handcuffs and leg irons and belly chains, and we had a straitjacket.
Oh,
and
shit.
But the straitjacket was missing the crotch piece, so like you could pull it off. So I got as much as I could carry, and I went down there, and it's a tight little hallway, and there's a steel door. We had the air conditioning cranked down real low so they'd freeze them out, and so I go in there and I take the key. It's this big brass key, and I slam it in the door, turn it, and I open it, and I never make eye contact with the guy because he's huge. But I walk in, and I got this little manila envelope with one sheet of paper in it, and he's standing there, and I take all these chains and straitjacket, and I just drop it in there, and he makes this loud, echoing noise. And I said, Mr. Gallegos, I don't know. I said,
right.
I understand that you didn't let anybody book you. I said, you can allow me to book you? And that's when I looked up at him, and he's sitting down kind of squat. And he's staring at the chains and the straitjacket, and he's like, what's that for? And I said, don't worry about that. I said, are you going to allow me to book you? And he says, well, what is that for? And I said, well, if you let me book you, we don't have to worry about what this stuff's for. In reality, he would have whipped my ass and put me in all that shit.
Oh, but, smart dude. Okay.
So the guy goes, so I said, you going to let me book you? And he's like, yeah. So he gets up, he walks out, we go in a little thing. A little booking room, and so I ask him a bunch, handful of questions, and take them back in and put them in there, pull all the chains out. And it's funny because I closed the door and I locked it. I looked at everybody. I was like, "Holy shit, that dude's big." But stuff like that happened all the time, man.
I believe it, dude.
It was a lot of fun. But like I said, it was interesting because when shit was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad.
It was funny because when my father, when I was growing up, my father used to always say, like, correction officers, we're a special breed. He used to always say,
he's like, they couldn't be real cops, so they're special.
No. My dad used to always say, when I was a little kid, because I used to tell my dad, like, I want to be a cop or military or corrections or something. And my dad used to always say that corrections officers never had a heart.
It's hard to, man.
You have to literally block out emotion like you do. So it's hard for you to go home. And those long-term effects of just dealing with the day-to-day, and the side effect of that is just being emotionless. Even you see a dog get hit by a car, you're just like, oh, get that dog out of the way. Because of the fact that you're so hard because you have to. You're working with criminals, and you have to harden your heart. Because they're going to give you every side story, every sob story. They're going to make you try to feel something because that's how they know they got you. That's how they hook you, and they hook you into it. And I'm sure you've read and you've heard all these inmates that escape because, a guard helped them or whatever. And you're just like, wow, they had to like groom that guard. Sure. They had to like wheel that guard in, to feel something.
Well, this is what people don't understand is like if a cop arrests you, right? You shot somebody, they come in and they arrest you. They probably spent 30 minutes with you.
Yeah.
I got to spend 8 hours with you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's like,
exactly.
You're the same scumbag that murdered somebody in the street, but you got dropped off. And now I got to feed you. I got to clothe you. I got to listen to you complain. I got to hear you about.
That probably explains your sense of humor because you have a really good sense of humor. It's a very blunt,
I really do.
Forward, upfront sense of humor. And we've always had that relation because of the fact that like I have a very blunt, same one, but in the military, being deployed multiple times and just like you develop a sense of humor that you just kind of just gotta laugh at it. That's the only way you just process it. Just laugh at it.
Well, I have this stupid thing, and I even tell myself like verbally, like I'll say, laugh or cry, dude. Which one are you gonna do? And it's funny because like I've talked to somebody about this, and I don't know if it's a mental defect or something. But like when I'm super stressed, I'm sure there's been times where like I kind of fall apart. I'm certain I have. But the majority of the time when I hit like my peak stress, I start to find it comical. And like I don't get like where I go in the corner and freak out and I have had anxiety attacks before. But like usually it's like it gets to the point where like You know, the shit's piled too tall. It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter.
When it was manageable, I was stressed out. But now it's no longer manageable. So this is stupid. Let's just
absolutely
just keep going. And
just keep going.
I had this mentality of I always refer to it as chopping down a tree, right? When I get real busy with work or real busy or stressed out about something, I always equate it to cutting a tree down. And it's like if I look at the forest, it's overwhelming, right? But if I just look at where I'm swinging and I just keep swinging and I just focus on that, eventually the tree will fall and then I can go to the next one. But you have to, at a certain point, you got to quit looking at everything around you because it's going to overwhelm you, right? So now let's just focus on our immediate issue. The same thing with Nina. You know, we have these conversations all the time. Like sometimes Nina will call me in, and I'm not very good at it. I wish I was better, but she'll call me in and she'll be stressed out about something, right? And to me, I'm like, I've even had this conversation with my nephew. I need you to cut 80% of this out. What's the 20% that's the important part? You know,
exactly.
What did you say a minute ago? If you're not bleeding, if it's not broken,
life, limb, or eyesight.
Right. It's like, okay, that's the line we're at right now.
That's how you know. Yeah.
When we have more free time and when there's more of us to give to a problem, let's go look down the road and see what we can figure out early. But right now, the shit's hitting the fan. What's in front of us?
Exactly.
You know? And a lot of times it's hard for people to kind of focus on that. I know Nina does. Nina likes to, when she hits that stressful point, it's overwhelming, and all of a sudden she's talking about things that don't matter right now. It's like that's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah.
What's today's problem?
Absolutely.
And I've gotten better at that. I'm not great at it, but I've gotten better at it.
No, that's good, man. That's actually a skill that we all need. You know, that is a skill everybody should have, is to be able to kind of prioritize, okay, hey, what really matters? You know, because I feel like even now we live in a time where literally you can pick up your phone, start scrolling, and all of a sudden there's a new anxiety or stress that you're about to absorb. Like, oh yeah, oh what? Oh my gosh, and now I'm stressing this. I just read this article. Now I'm stressing it. Now, oh, that just really gets my bones. Even though it's like, dude, does that really affect you? Do you have any control over that? No? So why now are you going to make that stress your stress? Why are you going to make that anxiety your anxiety? When you have your own shit to worry about, you have your own bills to pay, your own family, your own kids to get homework done and worry about, but you're going to yet scroll this and you're going to make that now your stress on top of whatever you have. And it's just going to make you just get discombobulated. And you're just like, dude, what's going on? You know, like, what are we doing?
I think it's going to get worse, but people really got to put effort into detaching. The other day I was with my father.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I was with my father-in-law, and he was watching like on demand, and you know, it was like animals or baby animals or something. He likes that kind of stuff. He went to the news, right? It was the 6 o'clock news or whatever, national. And I was sitting in the room next to him working, and he was in the living room watching it. The 6 top stories. Somebody got murdered. Somebody died. A bombing happened. A plane crashed.
Of course.
And I got up and I walked.
Of course.
I walked in the living room and I looked at him and I said, "Is all I got is bad news?" And he looked at me and he's like, shook his head like, "Unbelievable." And it's funny because it's like, even when I got a bad habit of scrolling TikTok, man. But there comes a point where I'm not even looking at anything. It's like, that's stupid, that's terrible, that's terrible. And I start doing this thing, and then I just put it down. That's when it's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's where it's gotten to, though.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that now. It's almost like I challenge somebody to create their own social media app where it's just nothing but good news.
Yeah.
Like good shit that's going on in the world that no one's talking about. That not even the media is talking about.
There's one on Instagram. I think it's called Good News Movement or something.
There is that, but I mean a whole platform.
Yeah.
Just imagine a whole platform dedicated, or even just a whole news media outlet where it's just like, dude, we're here to give you some good news today. You know, just that's it. No bias, no propaganda, no nothing, no left, no right, no nothing. Let me tell you, dude. Let me tell you about they just found the cure for this in Japan. They just did this over here. You know, these 13 kids got saved in Africa for doing this, you know, and it's just like, dude, let's hear about that.
I think people would love that because I feel like we've gotten to a point where everybody's so desensitized to so much that like the world's black and white, right? And it's like if you go and you put a fucking stroke of pink in that black and white, like everybody's gonna gravitate to that. And the color is the good stuff, right? But I hate to. He probably won't listen to this, but my nephew was staying with me for a while, and it was interesting because like I learned like this generation is very focused on, and I'm not trying to poke you a little bit, but very focused on like online stuff. Everything's online, the gaming, the hanging out,
everything.
And I remember one night, and I told a buddy this the other day. I said, I talked to friends. They're like, "Oh, my kids like that too. My kids like that too." But it was interesting because I told him one day. I said, "Hey, we both like UFC, right?" I said, "Hey, there's going to be a huge fight. Why don't you call your friends? Tell them to come over to the house. One of them's my godson." I said, "Have them come over. Let's barbecue. Let's order food. Whatever. Let's watch fights." And he's like, "Okay, I'll let you know. I'm going to go to work." So he went to work. On his way back, I said, "Hey, man, are we barbecuing tonight? What are we doing?" "Oh, no. He said, we found a chat room that we're all going to watch the fights in. And so we're just going to watch the fights in this chat room." And I was like, I get that it's a different world, but it's like, it's like you can't do that, man. Dude. And it's so acceptable now, you know, and not just with him, with a whole bunch of them.
No, you're absolutely right, dude. And I know.
I tell Nina, I said, Nina goes, "What did you do in a small town growing up?" I said, "You know what my favorite things were to do?" I had 3 of them. One was I'd wake up in the morning. I'd have a buddy or two at the house already. We lived in a very small town. I said we'd walk around town half the morning. We'd go to each buddy's house, pick them up, get our ball, our glove, our bats.
Yeah.
Grab everybody, come back to Little League, and we'd play baseball all day.
Yeah.
I said the other thing we would do is we would take rocks and we'd throw them at stop signs.
Yeah.
And you would hear that.
Throw dirt clogs.
Yeah.
I used to throw dirt clogs.
You'd hear that bing, when it hit. I said the other thing was I'd hang out with my buddy Bo out at his ranch. We'd sit on the back of the truck and we'd watch the wind blow through the plains grass. And she's like, "What?"
Now that's some Brokeback Mountain stuff right there.
Best thing you would do. And it's like we've detached from nature. We've detached from just sitting in silence with each other.
No,
and
you're
hanging
absolutely
out.
right.
We don't have to talk.
We've turned to screens.
We've turned to screens,
That's
man.
it. We've turned to screens.
It's never gonna stop.
No, it's not going to stop, man. But I'll tell you what. One thing that is shitty is I was thinking about this the other day, and I mentioned it in the last video I posted, but
I saw it.
oh yeah, oh, thank you for your service.
Tell us anyway.
No, but I mentioned that because of the fact that it's like, dude, you're absolutely right that we've become so sanitized over screens that we're seeing the effect, and what the effect is it's division. It is division, and I like to think, and I'm not trying to put my tinfoil hat on or
Put
anything,
it on, man.
But I like to think that obviously it's like, dude, when you have division, when you have confusion, when you have division, then you don't have unity, then you don't have strength. You have
it's purposely
weakness.
done.
You have weakness. And the reality is, it's like, I think of the movie. I saw this movie the other day, and I'm sure you remember this movie. It was a Pixar movie called Bug's Life.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie, right? So I watched Bug's Life the other day randomly. All right, and it's so weird. I know. I'm a weird guy.
What's weird is when we watch them now, they make so much more sense.
Exactly. So if you remember the movie Bug's Life, I'm pretty sure your staff here, you guys remember the movie Bug's Life? So
y'all keep it down.
Bug's Life. Okay, do you remember there were a bunch of ants who basically had to, like, all of a sudden these grasshoppers, come over and they're like, "Hey, you need to get us this food by this time," and blah, blah, blah. And then, those grasshoppers go back to their place and they're going to come back, to collect. And those grasshoppers are all saying, "Hey, why don't we just let those dudes just chill out? Why do we let the ants just chill out? Are you kidding me? We got to let them chill out? Do you know that they outnumber us? Blah, blah, blah." Like, they have all the power. They have all the power. So we have to keep doing this, because when they recognize they have all the power, then it's going to be a different story. That I just summed it up, though. I'm not going into the full lines, but that is the storyline. And then all of a sudden they come back, and then the ants realize, wow, we do have all the power, and then they unified, they united, there was no more division, because the whole time there was division. Oh, let's do this. No, we got to feed them. No, we don't want to feed them. No, we got to do this. Hey, we're pressure for time. We got to, they're stressing themselves out. They're working and everything. And in the end, they had the power the whole time. Because literally they forced that power, that hierarchy of the grasshoppers was forced to move, and they all just get depleted. And that's kind of like how I see what's going on now. In my mind, I saw that, and I'm like, dude, that's that is the U.S. right now. Why? Because we're so divided, and everyone just so selective outrage is literally everywhere. We pick up these screens that there's no unity, and when there's unity, you have strength. I thought the example the other day, I was like, dude, Netflix literally was like, people are talking about, oh, they're gonna up their price, blah blah blah. Well, imagine if the whole United States just unified and said, okay, delete. In just 48 hours, what do you think that board meeting, there's going to be an emergency board meeting at Netflix and saying, we literally just had every subscription deleted in the United States. Like 80% of our subscriptions were just deleted. What are we going to do? Oh, well, let's go back to our normal price. Okay, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, who has the power? Price of eggs goes up. Okay, everybody, don't buy eggs. Don't do it. Hey, give me another example. Literally it could be anything. And if you just united and said, oh, hey, you know what? Instagram, social media. Okay, you know what? Everybody just delete your Instagram for 48 hours. Let's see what happens. Everybody, whole United States, delete. Boop, delete.
I saw you post that. I saw you post about what happened if it all went away. And it was funny because I watched it and I went, good.
No.
I'm addicted. Fucking take it.
No, and imagine though, like if you think about it, we don't like to think about what would that outcome be. Think about it. Just literally think about it, All these apps, all these stocks, everything is just, right now it's literally using that division and that selective outrage, those selective standards, everything that just demoralize us, but they're capitalizing on it. Literally capitalizing on it.
You know what's funny is I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and I won't give you that whole conversation, but I will utilize some of it. Like, if you came to me and said, hey, we're pulling your podcast, we're shutting it down, we're going to take your phone, you've got no more social media, and your apps are gone, I'd fucking say good. Take it. Fuck it. I don't care. I know what life is when I didn't have this stuff. The problem is we've got a whole generation of people who've never lived without this.
But get this, though. They're also...
It probably died.
But get this, though. They're also the... that's only a percentage, though.
Yeah.
So
but
you would still see
growing.
It is growing, but you could still see a large chunk of the percentage, though. Like I just said, though, you would see a difference,
Well, it's like the conversation I had with the guy was AI, right? And it's interesting because, like, I spent some time with my nephew Tommy today. He's 12. He's always on his phone.
Shout out Tommy.
He's a chess nerd, and there's a chick out there he likes, so he's working that angle. So
Good luck, Tommy.
I won't use names because I did figure it out earlier. But this is the thing: the conversation I had with the other gentleman was like, we have a back history of life prior to artificial intelligence. We know,
yeah, we
know, the stove gets hot. We know how to change a tire. We know what it feels like when you drive a car and it starts shaking or making a certain noise. We know those things, right?
Yeah.
Because we have lived experiences. But there's a generation of kids coming up who don't have so many lived experiences. And I think progressively it'll get worse. And before they know it, like, we have a database of information that we've lived through. And that's kind of how we go. When we see something AI, we go, that's bullshit, right? We can call bullshit still.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of kids in the future that can't call bullshit because all they know is what they've seen off of AI. I had a conversation, did a podcast with some buddies the other day. We're talking about AI taking over, and it's going to, man. It's going to. Whatever that looks like, I think through robotics and artificial intelligence, they'll be able to do whatever they want to do. It just depends
Skynet.
on like what do they want to go towards. Even my job right now.
It depends on who's managing it.
Well, this is like my job, for example, right? It's in the engineering industry. It's computers. Even today, like the architect sends a background, it's made of parts and pieces that are actual parts and pieces. We do the same. So I think if somebody wanted to put an effort into generating an AI software that could do my job,
it's coming.
It'd be done easy.
It's coming.
But this is the other thing is, like, we started talking about AI and things that AI does, but I think there's going to be a group of people in the world that will always have an influence on AI, right? So there's never going to be a, hey, AI took over completely and we can't affect it. There's always going to be somebody else in the back door putting
someone
input.
has to have the controls.
They're never going to let that go. So I was thinking the other day, I was like, will we turn into a communist country? Will we get to the point where like all of a sudden, who doesn't love the idea of a set income for everybody? That way they can live, because now AI and robotics have taken everybody's jobs. So it's like all of a sudden you don't have a choice now, right? We don't need you anymore. We can send these soldiers into a booth and have them input things that are on their mind, and here are your best 3 options. Right?
Yeah.
And they can even click on it, and we will enroll them in classes, and they'll go to another AI. So it's like, okay, once that happens and these jobs aren't required, well, how are people going to live? I think Elon was talking about like $100,000 per person. And it's like, to me, I sit there and go, dude, you can make it $1 million per person, but all you're going to do is increase the price of bread.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
All you're going to do, prices and everything's going to go up.
Prices
it's funny
go
you
up.
say that, because California just launched the first fast food restaurant that is all automated.
Is it a McDonald's or what is it?
No, it is a burger joint, but it's like its own burger joint. It's not a franchise, but they are launching the full on capability. There's not a single employee there. It's all automated.
Yeah.
The moment you walk in, it's being cooked, prepped, food, everything. It's all automated. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, dude, you know what that means? It's only a matter of time before you see companies like McDonald's, Whataburger, everything, where it's literally, they can save money by not having a whole staff running shifts and everything, paying a payroll, and they just have 2 automated managers that just run 2 shifts, and that's it. And all they do is make sure that the wheels and gears are all working and lubed and ready to go, and that's it.
Well, this is what people are, I think, are kind of.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but
go ahead.
What that's going to do is, guess what? All those high schoolers, all those people who are working those part-time jobs to get through high school or whatever, or provide ends meet to their family or whatever, what jobs are they going to get when all of those jobs that they would normally get are now automated? Waiters, waitresses, everything, it's all automated. So what are they going to do?
And then that's when the politicians come in again and go, hey, we'll take care of you. We'll give you a basic income. We'll put you on the Medicaid enrollment.
Which then takes your power more away. It increases your dependency, decreases your independency.
That's where I get so frustrated with people, man.
Oh,
because
I do too, man.
They want to be taken care of. And it's like, you can't have anything. When I give you everything you get, you only get what I give you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's
Think about it.
Why would you want to? I have family members that live that way. It's like, why would you want to fucking live that way? Why would you want somebody to dictate when you can go to the grocery? Because that's what's coming, right?
But because guess what? There's no unity. If you have unity, you're shifting the whole conversation now. It all shifts. Because imagine if Walmart increased their prices. Okay, everybody in the United States, let's not go to Walmart for a week.
But they won't.
No, but imagine what that effect would have.
It would be amazing.
If nobody went to Walmart for a whole week, oh my gosh, you went everywhere else but Walmart. Why? Because their prices are going up. Okay, see what happens to see what meetings they're having, emergency board meetings they're having when they see, wow, we've had 0 sales for a 7 days straight. That is a loss in profits for this quarter, a huge loss. Huge. We need to fix something, and we need to fix something fast. Just imagine that. Same thing with AI. Imagine if everyone just said, okay, I'm not using AI for a week. We're doing an AI strike for a week. Why? Because we can get by without it. Here we can get by without it.
I just don't ever see that happening.
No, man, and you don't. The last time we saw that, honestly, is like, dude, you're not. Last time we saw that was the Boston Tea Party. Think about it.
Oh, I don't even get it.
Yeah.
Don't even get me into the Revolutionary War,
no,
man.
I know, but think about it. I know.
We went to, and I don't want to say
for
this.
2% tax on tea? And we went to war.
Think about all the taxes we pay now. And when you see, when we paid taxes a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then you see all the fraud that happens around the country.
But zero accountability.
Fuck Fuck you.
Zero ownership, zero accountability. Once again, lack of personal leadership. Like, dude, be brutally honest. I'd rather you come up to my face and be like, look, dude, we're taxing the crap out of you. Why? Because here's where your money's going. It's going to this company and this organization or this country. That's where it's going. I'm just sorry to say that's the way the system is. I'm put in charge right now. I'm just going to be transparent, let you know.
I'm going to pay taxes because I'm not trying to go to jail. But do you know how we've always
I
paid?
want to know the stat. I want to like to know the stat. Jamie, can we look this up? What is the statistic right
Jaime
now?
here. It's
Jaime. Hey, Jaime. Hey, I'm curious to know what is the stat? How many people went to jail in 2025 for not paying taxes?
I just got a text. It's none.
Oh, okay. I'm seriously curious. You're not seeing that data reported. You know, like you see people going to jail for like tax fraud, but how many went to jail for not paying their taxes? I'm curious to know in the state of Texas, how many civilians?
You know who would go to jail? Fucking me and you.
No, but I am curious because, like I said, this goes back to who holds the real power in this country. That's what we need to realize. That is what we need to realize. Imagine if everybody just said, I'm not paying property tax. The whole state of Texas said, I'm not paying property tax.
I don't think I'll be around for this. But this is one thing where I go, at a certain point, it's like my sense of humor, right? When the shit gets deep enough, I don't fucking care anymore. It's funny to me. Same thing in this case. When the people like to look at politics as left wing and right wing.
That's all it is.
And it's more of a horizontal divide.
Bro.
It's the people who run everything and the rest of you motherfuckers who pay for it. You know? And I wonder, will we ever get to the point where there's so much bullshit and there's so much fraud that everybody knows about, but nobody gives a shit because nobody's going to do anything about it. And the rest of us sit there and go, dude, what the fuck are we doing?
You're absolutely right. And that's why I look at that shit. Like the Minnesota shit, all this selective outrage, Minnesota. Dude, no one gave a shit about, there was no one protesting when that girl got executed on the train.
No.
Straight up executed.
Yeah.
Legit. You just sit there, just chill there, innocent bystander on the phone.
That motherfucker was arrested 14 times.
Boom, exactly. No protest. So then that's how I know. I'm like, dude, your shit, your standards are selective. So therefore there's no grounding behind it. There's zero grounding. We just had the Grammys the other day. I did an episode on this too. We had the Grammys. Billie Eilish goes up there and just says,
she got some big old boobs.
Yeah, she does. Hey, shout out Billie Eilish boobs. Anyways,
oh yeah,
she went up there, obviously, and this was so dumb because I was just like, why would you say this? She said something like, hey, you can't enforce immigration on stolen land. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
That's one of my favorites.
Did we have a history class at all? Let me tell you, I was a history major in college. So let me tell you this. What land in this world?
You were a history major?
Yeah, dude.
I love history. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What land in this world was not either conquered, settled, or purchased? Literally, the whole world.
Every square inch.
Thank you. I was like, you're going to get mad. You're going to say that stolen land. Mexico. Let's look at the history of Mexico. You know the story of the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Spanish, the conquistadors. Have you looked that up? You might want to look that up.
Well, you know what's funny is during the heat of the protests about a year ago, I guess, there was this heavyset, really light complected Mexicana in California saying the stolen land thing. And I'm like, bitch, you from Spain. You got more Spain blood in you than you do Inca or Mayan or Aztec.
And that's what I'm talking about. When you have this selective outrage, there's zero grounding behind it. I would respect you if you came up and said, hey guys, look at it. Instead of coming up and saying that, I would respect Billie Eilish. She just said, look guys, I don't know too much about this. I just don't feel it's right because the way it's being performed, I don't know about that. But understand this. Yeah, what land in this world is not stolen or conquered?
She's lucky I wasn't there because I would have requested her to jump up and down.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because that would have made more sense than her complaint.
No, but like that just goes back like what I was saying, dude. It's just like, dude, we live in a time where our outrage is selective, but it has no grounding. And it's to the point, like you said, dude, at this point, just look at it and be like, dude, what the fuck? Okay. It's not going to be a problem. What's going to happen? In 2 weeks, it's going to be something else. And then a week after that, it's going to be something else. And then you're going to look back and be like, nothing happened. There's zero accountability. Nothing happened. All this fraud, all this stuff. What happened? Nothing. Epstein files? Nothing. What's going to happen? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing.
You know, there's a movie that stuck out in my brain from the 90s. I think it was Steven Seagal. But I kind of mentioned it to Mr. Brown the other day. We were talking to him. We saw this negative stuff on TV. But I think it's a Steven Seagal movie. And he talks about, he's talking to somebody, and they're like, what do we do? All the police are corrupt, blah, blah, blah. And he says, stay out of it. He said, worry about your friends and your family. And when it comes,
there you go.
He says, when it comes for you, cut its head off.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because, like, I was talking to Mr. Brown, and we were talking about things, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I try to. I want to stay informed. You know, with a podcast, I try and stay somewhat informed. I said, but you know what? I got a job. I got a podcast to edit. I got a father-in-law who needs help. I got a mother who needs help. I said, by the time I hit all those points, my plate's full. You know?
No, exactly. But he's right, though. You control what you can't control.
Yeah. That's
what I always talk about in Comfort and Chaos. I'm like, dude, I'm going to bring a common sense perspective to an uncommon world. And that is, I hold heartily to it, because it's like, dude, yes, here's what they want you to focus on. But dude, in reality, it doesn't even matter. Focus on this. Why? Because you can control that. Mm-hmm. Focus on what you can control. Your families and all this. Until it comes knocking on your door, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't fall for these bumper stickers, because that's literally what they are. It's bumper stickers. You know, when you're driving down the road and you read this car just pass you, and you're just like, wait, what the heck? Let me see who's driving that car. Let me speed up, you know, because that's what it is. We live in a time where it's bumper sticker media. They're not giving you the full context. No, because if they did that, it can compromise the integrity of their narrative, you know, and it's not going to. And so therefore it's like, okay, dude, why let that anxiety be your anxiety? Don't let it. It's not, you can't control it. Why worry about it?
You know, it's funny because I think it was 50 Cent said the other day, and it kind of applies into multiple places, but I think it was 50 Cent. He was saying depression's a privilege. And I think sometimes outrage is a privilege as well, right? Because it's kind of like, in a lot of people who are big on therapy, and I think therapy is important. Some people do really need it. But it's like when we talk about what 50's point was, when you're the single mom who's got 2 or 3 kids, and you're trying to feed them, and you're working 2 jobs, and you're trying to raise the kids right, and you're helping them with their homework and feeding them, you don't have time to be depressed.
No,
you might be depressed, but there's no time for it.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because the times that I know that I've been depressed, it's been because Nina was carrying more weight than what she normally did for us.
Yeah.
Right? She was giving me an opportunity to lay in the bedroom for 3 days and not come out. Right? When I'm in a position where I don't have that option, my depression's got to go on the back burner. You know, and I think the same thing for outrage. It's like, if you have time to be outraged over everything and post everything on social media, you need more shit to do.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And that is, gosh, dude. Shout out 50, man. Shout out 50, because that's the reality. Just, dude, focus on what you can control. You don't have time. Why worry about that?
Yeah.
Why?
And if you got too much time to fucking worry about it, which I know a few people, you need more shit on your plate.
Exactly.
Gabe, before we wrap this up, I want to tell you a fucking funny story from the jail.
Ooh.
I wanted to tell you earlier, but then we kind of got sidetracked. But I'll make it quick. It's a little long, but I'll make it quick.
Can I go pee real quick?
Can we
pause?
Go pee.
Let's go pee, because I want to hear this story.
All right, man.
All right, jailhouse story.
Now that you've peed all over the seat, I got to clean it.
Oh, guys,
so
sorry.
again, I keep
Nature calls. Nature calls.
You should have sat down.
I did.
So I was going to tell you this funny story from the jail. So my buddy Laredo, we call him Laredo, he had a heavy-set friend that he wanted to hook up with one of his buddies. So it was down to me and my buddy Lewis. Lewis won, luckily for me. But so Lewis goes out on a date with her, and he calls me, and we both work the jail together. And he's like, hey, I'm running late. I need you to go start my shift for me. And it was Christmas Eve. And I was like, motherfucker. I was like, oh, fine, but you need to hurry up. I don't want to be there all night. I'm off. So I go and I got my gear on, but it's all sloppy. I was like, I'm not getting, tucking in,
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and I'm there with one of the other jailers. I think it was a female jailer. I can't remember which one. But you hear over the dispatch, there's a cop in the town over who's getting in a fight with a guy. The guy's drunk. And every time they come on the radio, they're getting down. Like, they're throwing down. You can hear them.
Yeah.
And so cops, DPS, city police, county police, they all go over there. They arrest the guy, throw him in the guy's car, and he's like, I need a jailer outside when I get there. And so I go outside, I got gloves on, and I'm waiting. And he pulls up, he parks at the first spot. There's probably 6 or 8 cars behind him, other cop cars. And so I walk out there, and I'm kind of like, I'm going to put this guy in the drunk tank till Lewis gets here, and I ain't doing shit with him. So he reaches in, he grabs the guy by the cuffs, he's cuffed from behind, and he drags him out and throws him in the parking lot. So I go to grab the guy, and he's face down. I go to grab him. He gets up, and he looks at me, and he just gives a fucking tears and boogers and blood all over his face. And I was like, what the fuck? So I grab him, and he's just screaming because they maced him. And so I take him, I put him in the drunk tank, and I uncuff him. And I'm like, leave him there till Lewis gets here. I ain't fucking with him. And so I go upstairs, and you can hear boom, boom, boom. Dispatch calls me. You need to come get this guy because I can't hear the police over the radio, right?
Yeah.
It's making too much noise. I was like, fuck, all right, let me go over there. And I told my partner, I said, hey, I'm just going to go yell at him, but I ain't fucking with him till Lewis gets here. So I go down there, and we have this little window in the drunk tank door. And I'm like, hey, I call him by his name. Hey, turn around and get on your knees. And so he turns around, but he won't get on his knees. I'm like, fuck, man. And so all these cops are still there because they're still talking about the fight, right?
Yeah.
So they're all we're in this narrow corridor, and everybody's got their can of mace out, And I look, and I'm like, put your mace away. You're going to mace me. Like, we're all going to be maced if 8 other cops got their mace out. So the guy won't kneel down. I open the door, and I look in there, and there's probably 2 inches of shit water all over the floor. He flooded the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
He had been hitting his head on the drunk tank door. So now he's got this cut on his forehead and blood running down his face and shit water everywhere. And at this point, I've been to the jail long enough to become a germaphobe. So I'm like, hey, man, back up to me. And he's got socks on, so they're waterlogged with shit water.
Oh.
So I'm like, hey, man, back up to me. And he's drunk, by the way. I cuff him, and I take him upstairs to the men's cells. He's got these cute little shit water duck feet print because of his socks all the way, up to the cells.
Yeah.
You see him in the hallway. So I get him up there, and I get him clothes, and I put him in this one cell that's next to another cell, but it's only a shower. I'm like, hey, man, go take a shower. When you get out, we'll get you fresh clothes.
Yeah.
So I call, and I get the helpers, get them out. Hey, I need you to go mop this stuff. And so while I'm getting the helpers down there, I hear screaming upstairs. So I go up there, and this dude's naked with shit and shower water all over the place. And he's reaching through the bars, and he's choking another inmate. And the other inmate is reaching through the bars and choking him. I don't know what started it. But anyway, I go in there, and I break it up. And I pull him out, and I get him dressed. I write all this. I'm writing all this stuff as it's happening. So I tell the helpers, they come up from mopping. I say, hey, if I put this guy in your cell, will you guys be cool and just holler at me if you need anything?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. So finally I tell her, for the 5th or 6th time, I'm like, I'm not fucking with him till Lewis gets here. So finally he goes in the cell with the trustees or whatever, and he ends up falling asleep. I write the other guy up. I got to put him in a different cell. We've got to clean all the shit water. I'm done with everything. I'm writing it down in the book, and then I hear the elevator go, bing. It's my fucking buddy Lewis, 3 hours late. And he's like, hey, what's up, dog? And I'm like, you motherfucker. He's like, what? I said, read this. And I threw the fucking logbook at him. And he was looking at it. He's like, damn, you had a rough night? I said, yeah. So he ends up marrying this girl, and they get divorced, and she made him miserable. But that was one of the worst fucking nights at the jail. So like I said, when shit went down, it was your job whether you liked it or not,
dude.
But
and you owned it.
Oh, you know what's funny?
And you owned it.
And I think I got this from Dad, and I've said this before at other jobs. If this is gonna suck, I hope it sucks worse than any other day we've ever had, because I want to be able to brag that we got through it.
Bro. Dude, you would, honestly, man, like, I know you probably never thought about this, but you would have done well in the military.
You want to know what's funny?
Like, you would have done well.
The Marine Corps was recruiting in my high school.
Yeah.
And I was behind my buddy Trey. Trey Moffitt was, I've been behind him my entire life, because he's Moffitt, I'm Molina.
Yeah.
And so I get a phone call, and it's the recruiter. And I know it's the Army recruiter. And so he's like, "Is Trey Moffitt there?" And I was like, "No, sir." And he's like, "Who am I speaking with?" I said, "Gabe Molina." And he goes, "Oh," he says, "you're next on the list." I said, "List for what?" He said, "I'm an Army recruiter, and I want to see if you'd be interested in enlisting." He goes, "What do you?" And it's funny because he goes, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" I said, "Dude, I don't know. I'm fucking in high school and I graduate in a week."
Yeah.
And he's
Of course,
like,
you're not going to know. That's how they always get you. Like, dude, you're in high school. What do you do the rest of your life? That's a big question to ask a high schooler.
Well, this is the funny part is he goes, "Are you tired of being a burden on your parents?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "You've been talking to my dad?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, you can go into the Army and make some money and alleviate some of their financial stress." And I was like, "I'm not going to the Army, man." I said, but I was like, "Are you gonna give me a gun?" He's like, "Yeah, we'll get you a gun." I said, "Are you gonna make me run?" And he's like, "Nah, man, a little bit." I said, "I tell you what, man. I knew my buddy Trey and I have been friends since we were 4 years old. And Trey was going to college to play football in Morningside, Iowa. And I said, I tell you what, man, me and Trey are best friends. I said, we do everything together. I said, if you can get him to join the Army, I'll join the Army."
That's right.
And he's like, "For real?" I said, "Yep." I knew Trey wouldn't go because he's going to college, right? He's going to go play football.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Call me back." I said, "Let me know what he says." And so I hang up, and literally like 30 seconds, the phone rings, and I'm like, fuck. And I answer the phone. I'm like, "Hello?" And it's my buddy Trey. He's like, "You motherfucker." He said, "Why'd you tell the Army guy that we were 2 for 1 and we both
Damn.
I said, "Man, I said, I know you wouldn't go. You're going to college or you don't get to play football or whatever." But anyway, that's why we didn't end up going. And then I got a buddy of mine, Laredo. Laredo joined the Army. And so he ended up, it was interesting because his parents had just moved to Arkansas.
Okay.
So he asked, "Hey, the thing, hey, where do you want to go after basic training?"
After basic training.
And so he's like, "I'd like to be in Little Rock, or so, wherever it is in Arkansas." I think it's
Where they send him?
It was funny because he went to Fort Bragg for basic, and he never left Fort Bragg. And it was funny because I remember the recruiter talking to him, and it was the same guy that called me. And he tells me, "Man, you're going to see the world. You're going to go on the government dime. You're going to do all kinds of things." And he's like, "And we can get you in Arkansas for sure. Get you close to your family." And car salesman, right? And so it was funny because when he went to Fort Bragg, he calls me and he's like, I was like, "Dude, where are you going?" I was like, "You going to Germany? Where are you going?" And he's like, "Dude, I packed my shit in a bag and I walked across the street." He's like, "I'm gonna be here for 4 years." So I was going to community college, probably 20 minutes away, and I would see that guy at the college, trying to recruit, and I'd look at him and he'd make eye contact and he'd smile, and I'd just shake my head. "When's he going to Arkansas, man?" And he's like, "Oh, that's not in my hands anymore."
No, it's not. It's not in his hands anymore. Nor was it. It's,
right.
It's the HRC's hands, But it's funny you say that, but I know that you, just knowing from what I know about you, man, and what I've known you and your sense of humor, the way you carry yourself, your decision-making, the way you analyze things, like, I don't say this lightly, but I know you would have done well.
I appreciate that.
You would have done well. If in the past life you decided that was your path, maybe not doing 20 years, making a career, but you would have successfully served your time or done a good tour.
Well, let me tell you something, and this is for I think a lot of people who are on the fence with joining the military. I have my reservations, like I talked about earlier, with leadership as far as like politicians go.
Exactly.
But my mother-in-law, about I think 2012, 2014, She died of cancer. My father-in-law is 92, and he's in the victory lap, man.
Yeah.
I will say he, with himself, with my mother-in-law, him having put in the time he did in the military and the benefits that he receives after, retiring from the military, saved them, especially with my mother-in-law going to cancer treatment in Houston.
Yeah.
Like, it saved them financially.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know that, and I'm sure other people have been able to do it. Several people do it. There's a lot of funding out there. But he wasn't the type of guy who would take funding. He paid for everything himself.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because she would go for trials, man, and she would go, I think, every 3 weeks, and she would stay there a week. And when you sit there and you kind of ballpark it, it's probably anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 every time they went, because they got to get a hotel room for a week.
Yeah.
There's eating, there's, whatever else goes with the gas. And it was like, I don't know how anybody else could do it.
Yeah.
Even with him, and
that is definitely one of the biggest benefits.
Nina works on his bills, and it's like he gets, I forget what they call it, but it's that paperwork where it talks about what they covered,
Yeah.
And it's all covered, man. And he still gets, I think he gets a couple of retirement checks. He gets one for Agent Orange. It's funny because he said, yeah, they pay me for getting Agent Orange. He goes, and they said it was going to be.
He was in Vietnam?
Yeah. He said they told me they would give it to me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
He said, I told them I'm going to live as long as possible, so you motherfuckers have to pay me for that Agent Orange.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because I said that I had this conversation the other day, and I said, you know what, dude? People don't realize that joining the military, they're setting you up for a future.
Sure.
And it's to the point, and this is one thing that recruiters don't even talk about. And I'm like, dude, they should even include this. But from a first sergeant perspective, I can tell you that I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it that in the military, even the worst soldiers, the ones you consider the low performers, the ones that don't even make the cut, are still set up for success in the outside just by them doing that contract in the military. And that can be a good selling point too. That literally, that's how good it sets you up for success. That even the low performers get out and successfully have a good trajectory to succeed in life and are set up to succeed in life. And I've seen it. I've seen soldiers who get chaptered out, don't even make their full contract. They get kicked out, but yet then they get out and they're thriving in the civilian sector. Well, because of the benefits.
We talked like an hour before we got started over like medical stuff and sick old folks. And it's funny because like we sit there and we talk about, and this is something that I'm just learning, but we sit there and we talk about saving for college, going to college, getting a degree, sending your kids to college. And it's like, I don't know that college is the answer anymore. And maybe it never was, right? Because we see the way things are now.
It's fading out.
But it's like, talking to Nina the other day, I'm like, you know what nobody tells you about? And they talk about saving for retirement. But when they tell you that, it's like, hey, you don't want to work forever, right? You want to be able to retire and enjoy your golden years. But nobody tells you about the medical expenses that you're going to incur at the end of your life and how much that shit costs.
Exactly.
And it's like, to me,
just a doctor's visit now. It's like, dude.
It's like, to me, it's like, that's something people need to talk about, not just saving for college. Yep. Save for that medical helper that comes, we talked about, that comes 3 or 4 times a week to come help you. Yeah, no one thinks
about that.
Like, that shit's out of pocket, Yep. And it's like, my father-in-law is very blessed that he has my wife, because she does a lot, man. We talked about it earlier. She does a lot. But at the same time, it's like he's in a position to where, now, I will say this, he's saved a lot of money because he never spent that money. So now that he's older, he still has that mentality, right?
Yeah.
But now a lot of money's going out for medical expenses. So it's kind of tough. I mean, he does it and he doesn't complain about it, but it's kind of tough for him to see that money going out because that never happened before. He didn't allow that to happen. That's why he's got money in the bank. But at the same time, it's like, he did everything he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
He lived modestly. He didn't get crazy with stuff. He put money away. You know, he never had the best of everything. He just had things that he liked, and he took care of what he needed to. The rest went to the bank. Most people don't do that, man.
No.
The rest of us that don't live that way, we're fucked.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like that's something that people really need to start telling young folks early on is, you know what, you want to go to college? There's some things I think you can learn on the job training, but there's some things you really need to go to college for.
Oh, exactly.
But it's like if that's a route you want to go, consider that. But also consider that end of life thing. You know, when that money's going out, and all of a sudden, I had a Godsmack several years ago. I've always been the guy that goes, hey man, I see this guy asking for money on the corner, but he looks physically capable. If I was him, I would do the X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
I'd figure something out.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that mentality, even with the food bank. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. One day, we designed a food bank in New Braunfels. We all went to go volunteer in my little department. And it was interesting because I had this kind of attitude toward like people who utilize the food bank, right? And it wasn't a positive attitude. It was me being a little bit of an asshole, right? But it was funny because the first shift of people come in waves, right? I think they get, so many people get like times to come in so that it's not overwhelmed. And it was interesting because that first wave, I'm sitting there and we're filling the freezers and I'm looking through the doors and it's a lot of fucking old people. Ooh. And so I asked the manager that runs the place, I said, hey, you know what? I kind of always had this shitty attitude about, you know, people that utilize this. And I'm seeing a lot of old people. And she goes, this is their supplement. This is supplemental to their income, their food. She goes, a lot of people, when they get to that older age, a lot of their money goes to medical expenses and all kinds of things. She goes, they can't afford that. You know, yeah, maybe they can get a food stamps, but some of them can't. She goes, so this is the alternative. This is where they come get their vegetables and their bread and some meats and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
And you know, I saw that, and it was funny because even before I asked the question, I saw this older couple looking through the freezer doors, and I saw my parents, right? And all of a sudden, it wasn't funny anymore. It was never funny, but all of a sudden, it wasn't me going, who needs a food bank? All of a sudden, it's like I saw my parents out there, you know, and all of a sudden, it was like, this place is important.
Yeah, it's a reality.
You know? And again, not to harp on this kind of stuff, but it's important to think about I haven't done it, right? I don't have money put aside for that shit. I hope
none of us think that.
I hope my 401k kicks in and all that other good stuff. You know, I hope things that we've done preemptively as far as like putting money away is going to be there.
You get a pension?
Well, no.
See, that's
the thing.
That's the thing no one teaches anymore. It's like, hey, dude, if you're going to get a job, all right, you're going to lay down this career path. Keywords that should stand in your mind, pension. Think that. You know, is it union? You get a pension or whatever. You know, that's what you want to think about, and no one teaches that, dude. You know, they're not teaching kids that.
I got a buddy who's my age. We're 49, and he just retired from federal prison.
No way.
And I'm like, motherfucker, you retired?
I thought you're 39.
No, my cardiologist says I'm 109.
Damn.
No. but in reality, I think it's something folks need to think about. You know,
absolutely.
And so, I mean, in that aspect, there's plenty of good in the military. And one thing that I think is good about the military nowadays, it maybe wasn't the case back in my father-in-law's days. So many more women are enlisted.
Okay, maybe it's a good thing you didn't join the military because we would be teaching classes because of some incident or something that maybe you did.
Funny story, we'll wrap this up shortly, but father-in-law almost got court-martialed.
Oh,
because
UCMJ.
He had written down who he thought his father was on his paperwork. His mother always told him, "This man's your father." He wrote on the paperwork. They found out that guy was not his father, so he almost got court-martialed for lying on the paperwork. And it was funny because
that's kind of okay.
It's funny because he said. Everybody in that damn town knew who my daddy was but me. He said, even the guy at he said, we had one grocery store and he knew who my dad was. But his dad was white, dude. His mom was black. His dad was white. Oh. And so when he went to his mom and said, hey, why did you lie to me about who my father was? She said, it was the 30s. She said they would have killed you, they would have killed me, and they would have killed him. She said, so I told you who your dad was because I was trying to keep everybody safe. But super interesting story, man.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, you just led into another episode. Stay tuned, guys, for part 2.
All right, man. Let's wrap this up. You got something else you want to share?
No, I
You'd have an
appreciate
opener.
it,
Close
dude.
it out, man.
No, dude. Hey, I appreciate you. You had mentioned earlier, just because I'm leaving soon.
I'm not a fan of that.
I know. And it's sad. The sad reality is us as men. There's one thing, for us as men. And I'm speaking for all of us men out there, but there is a harsh reality that we have when it comes to learning. And for us men, we're so in tune physically and mentally that we never realize what we have until we lose it. That's just the harsh reality of men. For you boys out there, that's a reality you got to face when you grow up to be a man. That we get so in tune that we never know what we really had until we lose it. And I have always cherished my relationship with you, man. You are a very genuine and authentic individual, and that is rare in this time and age. And I want to know, I appreciate you. I appreciate our experiences, our memories, and opportunities. I still remember the first time I met you at Trivia Night, man, and I'll never forget. But just literally,
it's just us and a bunch of women.
I know it was us and a bunch of women, and we carried that team
like God intended.
We carried that team. But I seriously do, man. I'm a big fan of you and what you do, and the platform doesn't give you the credit you deserve because you put yourself out there. You apply a lot of time and energy, and that speaks a lot about you as a man, and I appreciate that. And I encourage you, carry on, man. Consistency is key. Be disciplined, be consistent, regardless.
Hey, you're just moving. You're not dying, right? Am I fucking dying?
No, I'm moving, man. I'm moving, but it's just the opportunities like this to come in here and sit down with you. I remember the first time we sat down, dude, you were in here, we're cutting ham and getting drunk, and talking, and you put us out this fancy night.
Oh, my ankles were so swollen when we were done.
I know, man, but I'll never forget that. Obviously, till this day, it's still in my mind because I'll never forget that. And,
one thing with this podcast, man, and I've told people this even recently, I would love to have millions of views and do this 100% full time. But I've told people before, I doubt that'll happen because I'm not trying to gotcha my guests. My intent is to build relationships, right?
There you go.
And one day we'll do what you and I do, where we circle back and we do it multiple times.
Man.
I tell people, I might introduce you to somebody, you might introduce me to somebody.
I hope so.
And it's like plan. To me, it's a networking. It's us building relationships. And you know what? If motherfuckers watch, great. If they don't, we'll do another one.
That's right. Life goes on, man. Life goes on. I like to always say what you're doing is you're leaving, like what I do. You're leaving a digital footprint.
Yeah.
The cavemen used to go through these big battles, big hunts and whatever, and they would mark the cave walls. Until this day, we still go, and these archaeologists would go, and they can see a whole story just put on this line of these cave walls. Well, now this is your cave wall. Your channel, your platform, that is your cave wall that everyone in the future, and even for me, that's how I see it. I see my grandkids, my future grandkids who never ever will meet me years down the road will know, and they can just click and be like, dude, that was great grandpa right there. That's his cave wall right there. Look how he lived. Look what he was saying. Look what he was talking about. That's his footprint that he left on this world. And that's what you're leaving. So I appreciate that. And I encourage you, man, continue, fight the good fight. And please don't lose my number.
No,
okay?
man. And you always got a place to stay when you come to town. And,
okay, I remember you said, hey, guys, comment down below. Comment down below. Remember.
Hey, I already told you my wife moved in with her dad. I'm the only one at the house.
Remember he said that because I'm still going to have a house I got to come back here and check on.
Bring
so I'm going to need
groceries.
a place to stay.
Bring groceries.
Bring girls? Is that what you said?
Fine. You can bring girls too, but bring groceries. Because right now all I have is ham and pudding in the refrigerator. So
there you go. Tequila and cereal. I got
That's all we need. Gabe, I appreciate you, man.
No, thanks, man. It's been a pleasure.
I've always enjoyed having you on, and even like our friendship. Like I said, you know, I don't think that I don't. You made it sound really fucking scary, but no, man, we'll still hang out. We'll still do things.
That's right.
You know, it might be long distance. It might be if you come to San Antonio for paperwork. This is
okay. We're gonna test to see how good you handle long distance relationships.
Let me tell you something. I am the guy that checks on everybody all the fucking time.
Okay, you said that.
I really do that. And who knows, man? I might find myself in Florida, you know.
Let's go.
With a redhead and no place to go. So
let's go. Let's go. Guys, if you haven't already, follow him on Instagram. He posts some of the coolest pictures and the coolest memes. He literally makes them himself. You'll see the same face.
I apologize for my sexist, racist comments now, in the past, and in the future.
Yeah.
Gabe.
No, I appreciate that, man. Hey, Gabe.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
We're out.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina podcast.
Yo, Barry.